let's see if it's bright. Okay. Okay, so good evening, class. Today, we would quickly look at the nature of the questions we are likely to answer and then treat a past paper because we are approaching the exams and then we need to get used to the exam proper. Um, so let me share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so very quickly, let us look at the structure of the examination. The structure of the examination. Of course, we expect that you have 100 questions, and then section, comprehension, and summary. And for each comprehension question you get correctly, you have 3 marks. Okay, if you have 10 questions correctly, answer correctly, you have 30 marks. That's easy peasy for you. And for you also have one closed passage. The closed passage is a comprehension where you have lines to fill in gaps. Okay, so that also comes with 10 questions. Each one you get correctly, you have 2 marks for that. Then you have the reading text. For this year, you have been given the life changer as a text. How many of you have read the life changer by Khadija Abubakar? Have you read the text?
Yes, sir. We are still reading it again.
You are still reading it. It's not a very big text. I'm holding it. You can read it within 3 hours.
So we are reading. They said we should read it more than once. So,
Yes, you to read more than once because you have to look at characters, situations, relationship, setting, themes, and the likes. Okay. Well,
read it.
you have 15 marks for graphs, for reading the text and understanding the text, so that once you're able to answer the 15 questions, you are good to go. Okay, so we also have section B, which is lexis and structure. So you have 10 questions, 2 marks each, which will give you 20 marks. Um, and then for antonyms, which means words that are opposite in meaning, you have 2 marks each, 10 questions, 20 marks. For synonyms, 1 mark each, 10 questions, 10 marks. And then for sentence completion, 20 questions, 1 mark each. And then you also have oral forms. For oral forms, you also have 15 marks. Okay. So it's really up to us. It's up to us. So what we need to do now is to look at past papers. Let's consider past papers. So I am going to let's look at this. Sorry. Let me quickly open the file. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because of our time, we will just look at lexis and structure, and then take it from there. So, so let's consider a few questions under lexis and structure. Are we ready?
Huh?
Hello, are we ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we are doing this together, everyone. So we take from question 26 under less than structure. And each one you get correctly, you have 2 marks. So the first one here, the house, we have to find the opposite in meaning, which is antonyms. The housewife was hard up before the end of each month. So what will be the opposite of hard up? First, you have to consider what the idiom hard up means. Anyone? Hard up means what? Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yes. More like broke. Okay? Broke in need of money and all that. So in this case, what will be the opposite?
No.
What? In no need, right?
Yes, sir.
Does anybody have an objection to that? I would have asked you to answer these questions and send the answers to me. Or you put your answers on, I don't know if you can do a snapshot, but please let's continue. All right, yes, the answer to that is D, in no need. The second question here says, the retired general became a hard-nosed officer after fighting the war. What does it mean to be hard-nosed? Please quickly attempt that question so we could move on. Imagine that you're taking paper right now. That's another idiom. You have to learn idioms. Okay, to be hard-nosed means to be tough. The retired general became a tough officer after the war. So what would be the opposite meaning to tough? It will be what? Hello, I can't hear you. Weak, B. All right, I need you to be responsive. Please respond to the questions. Your answers may not be correct. Let's get together. Okay, it will help us. The next one, the Lions lost the match because their goalkeeper was in a haze. Yes. I have about 4 of you or 3 thereabouts. Please pick your answer. What? C. What does it mean to be in a haze? Okay, mentally confused, covered by the clouds and all of that. So, yes, I agree. C is the answer. Alert. Okay, alert would come in handy there. Was alert most of the time. Okay, let's move on to the next. Unless we see the evils clearly, contending against them is like fighting the air. So contending against is what we need to change there. Or contending. So I can hear you clearly. A. Did you say A?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you have to replace contending against, put together, and then put avoiding there. Avoiding them is like fighting the air. All right. I agree with you. Let's move on to the next one. The explosive growth of world population has not been caused by a sudden increase in human fertility. So the word to change there is explosive. What is the opposite of explosive? Yes. Okay. Yes. When we look at register, this is an economic question from economics. Okay. So you have explosive growth, you have gradual growth. Yes, I agree with you. Okay, that the answer should be gradual because it's an economic term. Okay, let's move on to the next one. It is generally believed that mindsters are not loved by many. It is generally believed that mindsters are not loved by many. What would be the opposite of mindsters there? Like saying somebody who is stingy. Yeah, you said what?
Yes.
Spenders. Okay. Yes, you may want to go for spenders because it's plain enough. But looking at the answers, spend trips would be more appropriate. Okay? Somebody who spends extravagantly. A man says somebody who does not like to spend. Okay, not if they don't spend, but they don't like to spend. You understand?
Yes.
Okay, so the opposite here will be spendthrifts. Okay, spendthrifts. Somebody, I mean, people who spend extravagantly. Okay, let's look at the next one. My brother's primary school foundation was solid, and this influenced his secondary education. Okay, what would be the opposite of solid in this case?
D, weak.
D, weak. Does everyone agree with that answer? Hello? What about shaky?
Yes, okay.
You said?
You can think of D and
Okay, in the context here, weak is more appropriate. Okay, because you can see somebody has a weak foundation or a solid foundation. The foundation cannot be shaky. Okay, well, so I agree with you, D is more appropriate. Okay, let's now move to opposites in meaning. I mean, sorry, nearest in meaning. Nearest in meaning. Let's move on very quickly. It seems that it's only one person that is attempting the questions. I need everybody to participate, please. It is very difficult to know who is entitled to essential commodities these days. Observe the mocked NNSC official. So nearest in meaning to entitled here will be what?
yes.
Entitled to. You said? So I didn't get that. Did you say D?
Yes, sir.
Worthy of hmm. What well you also have qualified for. Okay. Um really to be entitled sometimes could mean to be qualified for something. Okay. So worthy of anybody could be worthy of it. Okay, but to be entitled to it means that someone is qualified for it. All right. So worthy of is the close answer, but the most appropriate answer here will be what qualified for. Okay, these answers are sometimes they could be very close. One has to just look at the context. This is a miniaturized version of your house, remarked the architect. This is a miniaturized version of your house, remarked the architect. Okay?
Smaller.
Which will it be?
Smaller version.
Smaller version.
D.
D. Well, I agree with you. Yeah, smaller version. You can't compress a house, you can't abridge, it's not a book. Okay, so smaller version. All right, let's move on to the next question. It is claimed that there is an extinct volcano near Pankshin. Extinct. Nearest the million. Yes. Dead? Why should it be dead?
Just like the thing not be existing.
Okay. So when something goes into extinct, means that um, they must have experienced death. All right. I want to, in this context, of course, I want to agree with you. But inactive could also be closer to the answer. Okay. But dead is more appropriate. So let's look at the next one. Boa has sonorous voice. What would the answer be? Beautiful. Would that be beautiful? You know, you use the word sonorous, especially for sound made by birds, some certain birds. Okay? Uh, yeah, high pitched. When they say your voice is sonorous,
It's strong.
has, well, strong may not be, it should be high pitched. High pitched is the appropriate because when you hear the birds chirp, you see that the sound of the birds is high. The pitch is high. So if your voice is sonorous, it's high pitched. All right, let's move on to the next one. Some workers went on rampage at a trade fair. I think the word underlined here on the italic should be rampage. On rampage.
Hey, turn violent.
Some workers. Okay, so we have to take went on rampage together, right? So some workers turned violent at a trade fair. Okay. All right. Why turned violence? Why not demonstrated? Hello? To go on rampage here, does it mean that they turned violent?
Yes, A.
Okay. You all agree it's A, right?
Yes.
All right. Let's move on. I agree. We have to identify the protagonist of the new movements. The protagonist. No, we have antagonist and protagonist.
B. Leading figures.
Leading figure. Thank you. All right, let's move on to the next one. My nephew came in stealthily through the back gate. Yeah, I'm listening.
Quite
Quietly. Do you all agree to that? All right, that is, in fact, if you sometimes when you don't really know what the answer is, sometimes the option that is the most interesting you go for. Came freely through the back gate. Okay, quietly. We are coming in through the back gate. You have to come in quietly. As the distance no more than 20 kilometers as the crow flies. Yes,
Uh, B, by the
The
fastest means.
fast.
the option is what?
In between B or D.
In between,
By the fastest route or by the fastest means.
by the longest route, by the shortest route, by air, by the fastest means, as the crow flies. So your final answer is what?
B.
B,
Yes, sir.
by the shortest route. That the crow is what a bird. Okay, so it means you may want to say by air.
Oh,
So the distance is no more than, all right. So it's a figurative expression there or an idiom. That's to say, the crow flies would mean that the crow flies would mean in a straight line by air in a straight line. All right. So let's move on to the next one. The extreme patient sometimes infuriates me. Your
B.
extreme patient, sorry,
B. Annoying.
sometimes infuriates me.
B.
B.
Annoys me. B.
Annoying.
Yeah, I agree with you.
B.
You
Bold.
said what? Bold. Thank you. Thumbs
Bold.
up. Yes, correct. His has been a life of make believe. His has been a life of make believe.
Religion.
You said what?
B. Religion.
Make believe. Make believe really a life of religion. You can make believe here will not align with that.
Okay.
Okay, because
So,
so fantasy is the closest answer here. Okay, it's like you are when somebody says that you are in your in a fairy tale world, in a world of fantasy. Okay, in a dream world. That's a make believe. It should be a fantasy, life of fantasy. All right, let's move on to the next question. Let's see how far we can go. Our teacher um, seldom comes late to school. So
Hardly.
what will be your answer?
Hardly ever.
Hardly ever. Yes, I agree with you. Because the opposite of seldom is what? Often. Okay? Yes. Hardly ever comes late to school. At the age of 80, Musa wished he could put the clock back.
Go back in time.
You said what?
Go back in time.
He could go back in what?
Time.
In time, right?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, I'm listening. Hello? Yes, someone was speaking, please. Please go ahead.
Again, go back in time.
Well, we have not decided which he could put the clock back. There are two close answers. They go back in time and have more time. So which do you go for? Go back in time or have
Go
more
back
time?
in time.
Do you all agree go back in time? At the age of 80,
Yeah.
Musa wished he
Yes,
could go back in time. Does that really align with the first expression at the age of 80?
Yes.
You sure? Now, if you look at have more time, Musa is already 80 and is wishing he could put the clock back. He could what? Have more time. It means have more time to spend on earth, not to go back in time. Okay? Somebody who is 80 could be wishing for more time, wishing for like 40 more years. Okay?
Yes.
So have more time is more appropriate than go back in time. Go back in time to
Yeah.
when? Childhood or so have more time is more appropriate. So sometimes you have close answers. You have to now do a level of analysis and see the one that is strongest contextually based on your interpretation. Okay, let's move on. The director left his secret files to the secretary in good faith. We have 8 more minutes, so let's move real fast.
sir.
Good faith there. Here's the meaning. In trust. Bravo. That's correct. Yes. I agree with you. D. In trust. The next one. The chief of the indebtedness.
See, inability to be trusted.
Oh, lack of
Inability to be chief lack of interest.
Yeah.
The lack
Lack
of
of
interest
no
is
interest.
the most appropriate answer there. Yes. Alright, let's move on to the next. Nothing irritates the clerk more than being assigned miscellaneous duties. Miscellaneous.
unscheduled.
Nothing irritates the clerk more than being assigned miscellaneous duties. Yes.
Unscheduled. C.
Unscheduled. Yes, I would agree with you. Duties are not planned for. Okay? I do have spent my day buying you, but not accepted in this case. Okay? C is the appropriate answer. It is of fundamental importance that one sleeps properly. Fundamental.
Basic.
You said what? B, right?
Basic, yes. B.
B, basic, yes. Basic importance. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next question. I guess we would have to continue next week, but let's take a few more before we go. She showed affected interest in the game. Affected interest. Affected. She showed an affected interest in the game. You said what?
B. Pretended.
B, pretended.
Yes.
Well, affected here will not, pretended will not be an appropriate answer. You know, when your interest is affected, what happens? Forget about the article hand there. You could change it to A. So if your interest is affected, it means that you are no longer fully concentrated in the game. Okay? So it's not be real interest. It should not be pretended. It should not be concerned, really. It will be slight. Slight interest. Okay? Sometimes it's about collocation. Certain words go together. So we call that collocation. Certain words that go together. Okay? Alright, let's move on to the next one. I would not like you to do the work piecemeal. Hello? Piecemeal. What's your
B.
choice?
B. Bit by bit.
B, bit by bit. Thank you. Bravo. All right, let's quickly get to 55. So we'll take it from there next week. So the next one, I think I would like to reiterate the point earlier made. Reiterate there is what? Yeah, repeat. Thank you. Next one. The sudden death of the king puts paid to the ambition of the ministers. Put paid. Sudden death of the king paid the ambition of the. Is that a final answer? Benefited, are you sure?
B. Okay, me too. Terminated.
Yes, benefited.
Benefited. Well, to put paid in that sense would mean um, abruptly. So which one? Which one is? Yes, terminated the ambition. Yes, that's the most appropriate term to use. Okay. The last question before we leave. The man insisted on having no strings attached to the agreement. Strings attached.
Condition.
The man insisted on having no conditions to the agreement.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes. Well, if you don't attach strings, you're not attaching conditions. All right. So I agree with you. So other part what aspect but we don't really touch on legs and structure. Okay, so next week we continue. Do you have anything than a minute? All right, please keep reading up and try to read the text. Okay, the life changer. Finish it up so we could discuss it before your exams. All right, thank you very much. Rest of your week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.